this is day 7. I know some of you were in last week to watch, I think the second or third day of practice. So you'll see a little more today. I really like this group. I've liked this group from the beginning. I just think having as many guys as we have back in today's world, retention, I think, is something our staff talked about more than anything through the offseason and even towards the end of last year, knowing that we had a chance to have everybody back, and fortunately, a credit to the players for committing to coming back and committing to being a part of something bigger than themselves. And obviously, the newcomers have fit right in, whether it's been the 4 freshmen or AJ from the transfer world. So, like I said, I like where they are. We got a long ways to go. A lot of depth. More size, obviously experience is evident. That's very obvious. But our younger guys have really stepped in and challenged the older guys, and the competition is as intense and at a level that, which is a very good thing for us. So it's going to make decisions hard for myself, and my staff in terms of who plays and who gets how many minutes. But they're competing every day, and as a coach, that's what you want. You want them going after each other, raising the bar, challenging each other, and every day has been a different guy, kind of shows out, so to speak. So, like I said, this will be day 7. We got a long ways to go before we get to November 6th. Thankfully, there's a lot of things we got to get better at, but it's a fun group to work with.
Questions? Start with Jeff.
Brandon came down and mentioned that Crowell, Klesmet, and Gilmore have just decided, we're going to take advantage of that COVID year, come back. I know 2 years down the road, but do you think, what was your process, and do you think it might help any of them not worry about having to do something in their last year this year to prove something or enhance something?
It takes for the most part, it takes a decision or a worry or a wonder out of their mind. We talked about it long before, the last couple of days. It was even last spring with all of them. Hey, you have the option to have 2 years left. And they told me at that time, I want to come back. I want to be here unless I have a golden ticket somewhere. They're lottery picks. I'll shove them out the door with both hands. But I think they just understand the value of the experience here, and when you have 3 guys like that bring this much experience to the table, they've been great for the young guys, and it weighed in our mind in terms of how we've dispersed scholarships in 24 and what we're doing in 25, knowing that that's a bigger, in our own state, that's a bigger class anyway, and ironically, we're going to have more seats open at the table when we get to that point.
Jocko. Hi, Coach.
Hello, Jocko.
How do you get Stephen Crowell to play like he did in the NIT? The first couple of games, he was amazing, and now he's coming back, and just talked to him, and he seems like he's more fired up than ever. But how do you get him to continue to maybe be shooting first instead of passing first and get him going in the right direction right off the bat?
Right. I think, specifically with big guys, you always notice maybe a wavering level of confidence. So for him, it's about keeping a confidence level high, and he's committed himself to the weight room. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's moving more weight in the room down the hall than he ever has. And I think it shows, and it's showed in his mindset of really trying to dominate when he has the ball, specifically in the paint. So with every big guy we probably have come through here, there's a point in time when they cross that bridge that the confidence sticks and it stays. So that's the plan with Steve, is that he's there, and that's going to be nothing but better days ahead and continue to build off how he finished last year.
Seamus.
Greg, I know it's early, but how much do you envision your 2 true freshman big men playing this year?
It's early. I mean, it's they both have done good things. Gus missed pretty much all of last week, at least from contact situations. Was back Monday, has been back Monday and Tuesday, and has been really good. So, and Nolan just he even obviously caught our attention this summer. Just I think a little further along we had envisioned, but different. They're both different in how they play and what they bring to the table. So, I think that's I'm not bashful to play young guys. I think I've shown that. So I just keep competing, keep getting better every day. And I think, like I said, they both a little different. Gus's moxie and IQ and those things, and not that Nolan's IQ is really good too, but he's 7 feet and Gus is 6'8", 6'9". Nolan, I think, can play some at the 4. He's shown how he can move and his versatility. So I think it gives us some. That's part of the depth that I alluded to in the opening statement. That I like that we can. We're bigger and deeper than we've been in a while.
Evan.
Coach, Gus looks a lot different physically than he did last summer. I think he said he's down 42 pounds. Obviously, it's a different situation at La Lu where he's got more time to focus on that stuff and doesn't have all the other extracurricular activities. But what did that tell you about him, just the way he took his body and his health seriously to that manner where he started running, I think, half marathons to get that weight down?
Right. I mean, he changed his eating habits too. I know he's cut a lot of the junk food and sugars out. And when I talked to him about it, and that was really on his own decision. I mean, that was going to be something we would, help him shape once he got here. But he jumped on it before he ever got here. So I think now it's a matter of, all right, he's lost that weight. Now how do we make sure he's at the functional weight and has the strength? And I think that's the one thing that with Coach Snyder in the room next door, that getting him stronger, but while at the same time, keeping him, lighter of foot and more mobile, like he's made himself as he's, kind of reshaped his body.
Rohan.
Coach, last week you talked about how offenses are continually evolving out there. Some of the guys said that they're looking to play faster this year. Are you guys going to make a conceited effort in trying to play faster this year, and how do you think that might go about?
Well, you always want to play faster and get easy baskets, but the other team in the other jersey sometimes, has a different idea. So, yes, if we can get something easy in transition, I think, we've got an experienced point guard now. We got some depth behind him. Our bigs are pretty mobile in terms of running the middle of the floor. And then, as I tell all of them, just be responsible with the ball. The pace of play is something that gets maybe over-exaggerated in terms of a number. It's still about the efficiency of your offense. I mean, you look back at our 2015 team, which averaged 1.29 points per possession. It's the slowest team we've ever had here in terms of where they ranked in the pace of play. So I think, again, what really matters, the pace of play number doesn't as matter. I'm more concerned with what that 1 point, and we were 1.06 last year. That's got to be 1.1 something, and there's a variety of ways to do that. Against the really good teams, you're going to probably have a harder time getting a lot of transition baskets. They should have a hard time getting them against us because of how you transition and how you take care of the ball. But if you can get an easy one or two, it's a game of easy baskets. It's easier said than done. But our efficiency has to go up. And if that's a piece of making our efficiency go up, then I'm all for it.
Tony.
The video came out over the offseason of you in practice telling the team that things are going to be different this year. I'm just curious about what you meant by that. Like, what exactly has been different?
I think our approach in the spring with the weight room, I didn't do any. I mean, that was a little canned media too. Is it Don or Donald? Donnie. All right. We changed how we approached the spring. We went all weight room, nothing instructional on the court because we had a long season from June through the foreign trip last year into playing at the end of March. I felt the weight room was a big piece of us taking another step, specifically having all these guys back. And then through the summer, with what Jim did, some conditioning, more intense things in the summer that maybe we hold back with until the fall. And then the fall we added some extra things on the hill. And then we're doing some extra things in practice too, that above and beyond maybe what we've ever done in the past. So it's just, it's part conditioning, it's part mentally, taking another step. So I told them that day that they're ready to be challenged. You got to be cautious if you do it with a group that's too young or maybe not ready for it. This group is ready for, the schedule's going to challenge them, but we have to challenge them every day in practice too, and push them and get them out of their comfort zone, which, they've done a good job of doing that with each other, but our staff has done a good job of pushing the bar too.
When you have a complete group of returning starters, I guess, is that something that you need to talk to them a little bit about, that nothing's sort of guaranteed, that, when you add more depth, that, minutes aren't necessarily going to be the same as they are last year?
Well, I don't think I have to say much. They see what the competition level is in practice. So, returning starter, that's last year. I haven't named any starters yet this year. So it's open season on minutes. So they go after it every day. And I have my list that I keep to myself of my observations and evaluations from each day. And there's movement in that list every day. Some guys drop, some guys move up, some guys that didn't appear a week ago now appear on the list. So, like I said earlier, when we get to that point in a month or maybe beyond, because there may be some experimenting yet going after we hit the first game, it's a good thing because we've got competition in practice at all positions. So when you have that competition around you, you can't get complacent and you can't half step. You don't want to have a bad day or somebody's going to pass you. So that's where we want it, and that's what we want every day. And they embrace it. They go at each other, and then when the whistle blows and we're done with practice, they're all. You saw the new locker room. They're all buddies in the locker room and buddies off the court. So that's the culture is really good, and I think that's getting all these guys to come back is a big piece of that. They wouldn't walk back to this if they didn't really enjoy the experiences, but also they have high aspirations of what we can accomplish this year.
Greg, talking about two of your starters, Chucky said that he wanted to hit the weight room to work on his finishing. Connor said that he actually sought out his own personal trainer too, versus doing his own thing. How have you seen those two guys make the leaps that they needed to in those aspects over the offseason?
Yeah, I think both different. I think Chucky, as guys go through their career, they kind of find through experimentation, some of it's success, some of it's failure, what's right for them and their body. And this really was Chucky's. He made the movement towards this over a year ago when he mentioned about Gus changing his diet. Chucky has changed his too of consumption. We could all probably take lessons from how he eats, but he wanted to slim down, trim down, become leaner, lower body fat percentage, higher muscle mass, and it fluctuated with what you weigh necessarily doesn't really always lead to success. So more sometimes isn't better. And we've had guys do that throughout their career in the 20-plus years that I've been here. And Connor was a little bit different in terms of, I think his experience last year showed him that I better get in the weight room and I better add some muscle mass to my frame. I better, all those things that the experience taught him, even though he had a good freshman year, there was times when, he didn't have the outcome that he wanted to, whether it was in the paint or the endurance component of the duration of the season. So probably a little different approach for both of them because they were at different points in their career. But the fact that they realize it, I think, is always a good sign that the coaches don't have to be the first ones to point it out and offer advice. Like I said, Chucky, and huge credit to him because I never seen him eating anything but salads. So I thought it was just a one-time thing, but it was, like I said, early last year, he knew that it was going to take some time for him to change his body, and he's done an awesome job with it.
Any other questions for Coach Gard right now? Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Jago.
Coach Hastings mentioned it's just a great time to be around just Badgerland, I think he called it, with Coach Fickle here and Mike Hastings, and just, there seems to be a rejuvenated feel in the athletic department. Do you feel that everybody, it's kind of going on the upward?
Well, they're coming to me with all the questions. I sat with Mike for probably a half hour yesterday, and he had a lot of questions for me just about this place and the nuances that I've seen change over the years and just where we are in college athletics, with the transfer portal, with NIL, just how things are in our sport compared to his sport. So, yeah, Mike's been awesome. I know people that knew him at Mankato, and the same thing with Luke. I was speaking at a clinic in Michigan last Sunday, and for their coaches association. And Wes Miller, the head coach of Cincinnati, spoke right before me. So we had a chance to talk a little bit. And the first thing he said, "Hey, how's Luke doing?" I said, He's doing good. I leave him alone during the season. Shoot him a text now and then, but he's got bigger things to worry about than us right now. But Wes had great things to say about him. Thad Matta had great things to say about him when Luke first took the job. So, but their sports are different. I think we all know that we're at different times. Our probably sport is further down the road in the portal and even in NIL. But nationally, so it's a little bit of apples and oranges. But like I said, they both have been awesome. Hang out in the office once in a while, but they're busy right now with their own sports.
Michael?
I know you haven't even got into the season yet, but the NCAA made a decision today to, shrink the transfer portal window. And I know that's something that you've talked about, maybe they should push it until after all the games are done being played. I guess I'm curious if you
Did it go to 45?
Yeah,
went to 45. I knew we have another Big Ten meeting tomorrow since we couldn't get through everything Monday, and that was one of the things because Coach Painter's on that MBOC committee, so we thought 45 was better than 60. 30 was. I had mixed opinions or mixed thoughts about 30. I felt that was a little too short. But 45, I think, is a good happy medium, and I'm sure I'll learn more from Matt tomorrow in our meeting.
Anything else for Coach Gard? No? Okay.
Oh.
You going, Jeff?
We all good?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.